All right, awesome. Live, my friends. I'm just going to double check one last time that everybody can see us in the group. And let's dig into those yummy co-living things. Exactly. We are live. Hell yes. How does it feel? Are you ready?
I am ready.
Cool. I hope we're not going to get bombarded with questions. So, man, I saw you took like some notes and stuff, and like, actually, first of all, let me quickly introduce you, and I guess you can introduce yourself. But in this episode, we are having here Nacho, or as you call your full name is Ignacio Rodriguez.
Correct.
I guess everybody calls you Nacho, right?
Yeah. My nickname and shortcut is Nacho.
Hell yeah! And so you're currently on the Canary Islands, where we
Correct.
actually met a year ago. I remember that. And you've been running a few co-working and co-living spaces there. And to my surprise, actually, I thought that you just recently opened your last space, or your first space, but you didn't. It was the third space that you opened, correct?
That's true. Yeah, we started our co-working space already a while ago, and what the notes I was taking is it was basically trying to draw a timeline because now I feel old. We opened our first co-working space back in 2014, actually, the summer of 2014. So it's been already 6 years since we started this adventure. And actually, our first co-living space, which was sort of like a beta test, started as early as the summer of 2016. So already 4 years ago. So it's been a while, and now we recently just launched our third location now in January, the Papaya House.
The Papaya House, okay. So was it called co-living already, like 4 years ago when you opened it, or how did you call yourself?
Well, just so that you have a bit of a background, we started our co-working space and we didn't even know what a co-working space was. We just had an office space that we needed for a particular project that spin off another company that participate in, and the space was just very large, and we decided to invite anyone who needed to work there. Initially, with the thought of inviting our colleagues and some of the freelancers that we were already actively collaborating with.
Yeah.
But then we discovered this whole digital nomad movement and the whole remote work movement, which for me in particular was mind blowing. And that's when we started, actually, after we had already an office that was a shared office, started researching about first co-working, what was co-working and what was remote work, which we had no idea about back in 2014. And then, out of a necessity of some of the co-workers that we had in town, some of those remote workers, we opened our first co-living because in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, the city where I'm based, back in the day, it was hard to find a flexible accommodation for those who can work anywhere and they're not here on holidays. They are working remotely, and they like it and they might stay longer. There was no solution for them because there's Airbnb or hostels or hotels for short term, and then there is a 1 year rentals with a very complicated process of screening and contracts and lawyers and agency fees, etc.
Yeah.
And we didn't even know that what was co-living back there. We were like, okay, well, these people that come to work with us in a co-working space need a place to stay flexibly, and that's where our beta test started back in 2016, which is basically a 4-bedroom flat very close to our office, where we allowed people to rent a room and stay there for however or how much time they wanted. And so it's been a learning process, as you can see. Obviously, again, I mean, I've been super inspired about this whole movement of co-working, of co-living, of remote work. And since then, obviously, things have evolved quite a bit. So we started our first official co-living in 2017, which is the roof, which we
Oh,
still
the roof.
keep. The roof, yeah. We give a different name to all our co-living spaces based on our customers' recommendations and what they can relate to. And the roof, it's a beautiful house. It's a penthouse actually, which has a humongous rooftop, and that's why we called it the roof.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's what I imagine. I was like, or people are just like living under a roof, like tied together, or they actually have like a really beautiful rooftop from which they're like just like enjoying probably like like sangrias and tapas and all of these little like yummy things that you guys have in Spain.
Yeah, totally. Well, the thing about Las Palmas is that obviously one of the values that we have here is the weather, right? I mean, the weather all year round, it's very nice, and this beautiful rooftop, it's very helpful for those who come from northern countries, which are keen on sunshine, and it's one of the biggest values of this property in particular. It's a 320 square meter house on one floor with 7 bedrooms, with a 600 square meter rooftop terrace. So it's
Wow.
pretty unique. It's pretty unique. It's in a beautiful part of the city in Ciudad Jardín, which is sort of like a neighborhood in the middle of the city, but it really has that neighborhood feel, even though that it's in the middle of the city at a walkable distance from the beach and for all the shopping areas, etc. And
Yeah.
yeah, after this experience, we opened a second co-living in 2010 called the Pool, and you can guess why we called it the Pool. It had a
It's
nice
probably
backyard.
like a table.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The pool
With a lot of water in it.
yeah, was also a 7 bedroom also a property, really really nice. Also in the same area.
Yeah.
All the co-livings we've opened since 2017, they're all close to each other, and we allow our co-livers to move from be able to use the different spaces, come to our co-working space, which is also at walking distance. And yeah, we now recently opened, well, after the pool came the mansion, which was called by our Italian colivers La Mansione, because they made it, they had
Ah,
their own name to it, which is another 7 bedroom villa in the same area. At that time, we decided to close the pool because it was a house that had some issues with maintenance. And we recently reopened our third co-living, which is called the Papaya House because it has a beautiful papaya tree in the garden. So we enjoy great papayas all year round.
it's amazing. That's really, really cool. I love how like you're giving like names and individuality to all of those spaces. And so like, is it that everybody that stays at the co-living is also a member of the co-working space? Is that
Yep.
basically in addition to that, or can you become part of the co-living without of the co-working? How does it work?
A co-living, the co-working is sorry, it's one of our perks to call it that way. It's completely free for co-livers, but actually we do
Okay.
have plenty of workspace in each of the co-livings. So they get to choose if they want to work home or if they want to actually go to the office, because some people prefer the office atmosphere, and some people prefer to work either from the room or from the workspace that are on each house or from the rooftop, right? So they get the freedom to choose, but they are all welcomed, and it's a service that we include completely for free to all our cleavers.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so actually right now, you're in one of the co-working spaces, right?
Correct. I'm at Coworking C, which is where everything started.
Okay, okay. Can you show us around a bit? Like I'm seeing like you have this like beautiful graffiti in the background. Like what is that?
Yeah,
The-
well, I'm in the meeting room right now. That's this is the glass that's and that avoids me disturbing the rest of the guys. I think that behind me you can see some work desks. There are some developers there focused on their work,
yeah, I
where
see a head
we host.
screen.
Yeah, and then we have several floors. We have 3 floors in total in the co-working space. So we have a hot desk, where people can come and sit down and work. We have some more dedicated workspace. And one of the values that we promote is we host at our co-working space a lot of locals, right? So we want our Colivers, our visitors that are working remotely in our hometown, also to connect to the local community. And the reason for this is that we believe that this is more sustainable, right? We see other locations like in Asia, for example, where all this movement sort of like started, where they've created sort of like bubbles, right? Bubbles around expats living in specific areas of the city because of whatever reasons, right? That maybe don't connect that much. And that's one of the things that we really wanted to avoid. So we promote actually this interaction between locals, expats, remote workers from all over in the world. And we trying to build a nice community that anyone locally or internationally can tap into and come back to, which is also very important for us.
Yeah. So how do you create this? Because I assume that especially like remote workers are most probably like very skilled, like in digital skills, right, or like in business creation. And then I think the local population can probably very much benefit from it. In the same way, you have like locals can contribute a lot to those, like, I wouldn't call them tourists, but remote workers, right, who come here for like 1 or 2 months. So do you have like any story that you want to share of like how like a beautiful relationship was created through your space, or how you see like people empowering themselves between those two audiences?
Well, I think that it's they both add value to each other, right? So when you arrive to a new city and again connecting in, to the main topic of this conversation, which is actually co-living, right? And we are specialized in a way on hosting it at our co-living's remote workers, right? Because the locals already have long-term accommodations, and we haven't built yet a co-living for residents, for long-term residents. We are more focused on people staying anywhere from 3 to 6 months and actually returning to our city with this frequency. This is our concept of co-living and the community that we are trying to build around co-living, right? So when somebody arrives in a new city and has flexible accommodation, workspace, community, and even connects to locals, their experience couldn't be better, because they actually enjoy the space and they enjoy the city, enjoy the location as we as locals. I was born and raised here, as we do. They get to know the real stuff, not the touristy stuff, right? So this is very valuable for our visitors, right? But on the other side is super valuable for locals, because they get to network, connect with very interesting individuals from all over in the world in their own hometown, and this creates opportunities for both, right? Opportunities in terms of collaborations. We've seen some marriages already. So it's just it's beautiful, and
Nice.
that's what we like to build on, right?
That's really, really cool. So regarding that, like, is there like certain habits or like types of events that you host, like whether within your co-living or co-working, for example, like do you have weekly communal dinners? Or my co-living spaces, like every week I would encourage people to have like one day where we choose and we like all cook together. Then we had like also like, community assemblies, and then like we try to like empower people to create their own events, so one, for example, she was really into marketing. She was like, "Yeah, I need help with marketing." And I'm like, "Cool, why don't you host a marketing mastermind?" And then like she hosted for like 3 days this marketing mastermind with like 7 people. So how's this whole activity life like over there?
Well, let me tell you what exactly we have ahead of us this week. Tonight, we are hosting a cloud-based meetup here at our co-working space, basically talking about cloud businesses. This is a meetup that we are hosting actually for an expat who is resident in the city. He's not staying at our co-living, but he often comes to our co-working space, and he's leading this meetup. We're inviting obviously our co-workers. It's an open event for the local community, for the co-livers, for the co-workers. So at the end, anyone interested on cloud business is going to be around the workspace and is going to meet today. There's some content to it, and there's some networking. There's some beers, after the event, some food, etc. We are super fans of barbecues. So
Barbecue.
as yeah, we for example, we next barbecue, it's on Monday afternoon. We have an early dinner at one of the Colivings, where again we invite any one of our Colivings and our co-working space can attend this barbecue outdoors, obviously, as even though we're in January, the weather here it's beautiful now. So
How long is it right now? Because like here I'm freezing my butt off in
we are
Paris.
22, I think, today. 22, and it's sunny, so it's great.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Then we have a hike. Actually, I forgot. We have a hike on Sunday. One of our coworkers organized a nice 8-hour hike, which is going to be very interesting in one of the beautiful parts of the island this Sunday. We promote community events. So one of our coworkers, she is one of the community leaders in town, and she organized these meetups every Wednesday night, where they meet at a burger place and then they go for karaoke. And even though it's not our event, we publish it on our network, and we try to encourage all our coworkers and Colivers to join. And again, going back to what you just mentioned, we like to empower our Colivers. Again, ideally, when things happen and we don't do anything, means that we are doing a good job. And we empower our Colivers. We give them, whenever we tell them, just reach us if we can help you organize something, lead something, and that's when the magic happens. That's when they feel ownership on their own experience, and ideally that's when we do our job right.
Man, I love what you're saying. Especially, it's one thing I keep on telling co-living operators, especially like the guys, the big ones that are creating like massive spaces and come from the real estate industry, and they don't understand that the notion of community building needs to come from the residents themselves. And I love what you said. Actually, it's like I hope I get it right, but you said something along the lines of, when things happen and we don't do anything, this is when the magic happens. And I totally agree. And so there's this notion of duocracy. Have you heard about it?
No, duocracy. No, I'll research on it.
So duocracy is when it's a system in which members are have the power to take decisions, like to take action, without consulting the wider group. As long as two things, as long as they believe it's with the values of the group, and as long as it's a revertible action. So for example, I want to host a marketing mastermind, and I see that on Wednesday there's nothing planned at the co-working space between 6 and 8. So I'm just gonna create an event for this between 6 and 8, and I'm gonna let you know, but not sure I create this event. If things, maybe in case you didn't communicate that there is an event, it's still reversible. We can still cancel the event and nothing happens, right? But the beautiful thing is, like, you have this notion of empowering your members, like to take action. And I think that's really on spot.
This is very, very similar. The other day, I remember I hosted myself a new Coliver that arrived, and he was asking me, "Hey, what are the rules?" I was like, "Respect, common sense, and ownership. Those are the rules."
Hell yeah.
And it's as simple as that. If you can think about it, respect, don't do anything that could damage or annoy anyone. Common sense, think a little bit about why you're doing things, etc. And ownership. I mean, respect it as if it was your own, and take your own, ownership of things and lead. And if this happens, I mean, it's less work for us, a better experience for everyone. So it's the right way.
Yeah.
But it's not easy, right?
Yeah, I'm curious. Maybe what were your learnings over the last couple of years, like on how to give people that feeling of ownership? What have you changed in your approach, maybe from the onboarding or from the people that you choose? What are some learnings here?
Well, I guess we try to filter, but we don't filter, the way I read some others do. We try to filter by trying to communicate clearly before people book what should their expectations be, right? So this way people already land and they know what to expect, and we don't have to do the job of background checks or whatever others do. We take it a very simple approach in that, but try to communicate beforehand very well, what people should expect and where are they going, right?
Yeah.
Other than that, also helps, our long-term visitors or returning visitors, which we proudly have a lot. Also somehow, while they communicate to the new ones, they somehow share this word, right? So they also sort of like take the role of the managers, right? In terms of if other Colivers have questions or they are not sure about how to approach or how to do things, they are the ones. We are very self-managed co-living and co-working space. I'm not around. Our team is not around all the time. We don't have anyone living in the co-livings from the team. So we need to find ways that people land and understand sort of like right away how things are run and how things work, without having someone tell them, hey, you have to do this, or these are the rules, or you're not supposed to do this other thing. Just and some, I guess, for our size, and obviously this might be difficult to implement for a larger co-livings. It so far it works out.
Yeah, and I guess it's also one of the beauty about your concept is that you actually have very tight communities. So like people who live like in smaller, I call it cluster sizes, right? And I really believe in the notion of like us ourselves being responsible, for our actions, for like how we deal with others, and it's amazing. So
well, but I think it's a very important aspect, because when you feel responsible, you take ownership, but also you have the freedom, right? You have a freedom to sort of like decide and choose, and you don't have to read over some rules or something that somebody else thought for you, right? And I think that this facilitates things, and somehow I think that connects to the experience that you will have in your own space. So in your own space, you could organize a dinner, you could throw a small party for your friends or invite someone over. So within the respect and common sense unwritten rule, then everything works, right?
I totally agree. I'm really glad for what you do. So talking about responsibility, I'm actually currently also in a co-working space that I co-created like 4 years ago, and I'm in this room that unfortunately got booked now. And so what we talked about is we're gonna do another live stream, most probably, I'm not sure, maybe next week or in 2 weeks, where we're gonna be at your co-living space, and then we're gonna be like show around.
Perfect. Let's do that.
I'd really love that, and really enjoy this conversation, and especially your notion on community building. I'm actually really, I'm curious to
thank you for
myself
all the work. Thank you for all the work you're doing. You're amazing. I know I'm a big fan of all your work. I've told you already. So keep it up.
Thanks, man. So to everybody, like, if you want to go check it out, it's coworkingc.com, right? So, and then you're gonna find for co-working Canary Islands, so coworkingc.com, and then check out the co-working co-living in Gran Canaria. And if it doesn't get warmer here, then I might just fly it over.
Awesome. You're always welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nacho. Take care.
So.